Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are breaking their campaign promise to stand up for auto workers and to stand up against tariffs. This week, we all saw the Prime Minister sit down in the Oval Office, meekly nodding while President Trump threatened to steal more of our auto workers' jobs. I didn't see any elbows go up. I saw a promise to send another $1 trillion of Canadian investment over to the USA as a reward for Trump's aggression. Canadian auto workers expected to see more fight than that. Why is the Prime Minister letting them down?
Parliament Secretary for Canada-US Trade.
Here we go again, Mr. Speaker. I want to reiterate that Canada currently enjoys the best trade agreement with the U.S. This is not up for debate. However, we're not entirely pleased, and discussions are ongoing. Because as you know, the Prime Minister has consistently emphasized we will only accept the best agreement for Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Kitchener-South Hespeler.
Mr. Speaker, none of those words provide material support to the 8,000 of my neighbours in my hometown who work at the largest car plant in Canada. They depend on those jobs to put food on the table this Thanksgiving. They depend on those jobs to pay the rent at the end of the month. Let me be clear, this plant cannot survive the current tariff regime, and the Trump officials said the regime is staying. We're in extra innings now. Will the Prime Minister fight for these jobs before the game is over?
Parliamentary Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Is focused on protecting Canadian jobs, workers, and businesses. We have stabilized supply chains through initiatives like our Strategic Response Fund. We've provided direct support to our affected industries, just like steel, aluminum, manufacturing industries, auto, and agriculture. We are doing this all while maintaining Canada's enviable fiscal position and triple credit rating. We are Canada strong.
Member for Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
After 10 years of this Liberal government, Canada has the fastest shrinking economy of any G7 country. Since the Prime Minister's visit to Washington, the U.S. Commerce Secretary stated car assembly is going to be in America, and there is nothing Canada can do about it. This Liberal Prime Minister recently promised the President $1 trillion of new investment would flow into the United States. So, are those the jobs of Canadian auto workers, including those at the GM plant in St. Catharines?
Parliament Secretary to Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, our government is standing up for auto workers in all tariff-impacted industries in Canada. We've put out a package of supports to support industries, offered a remissions framework, and much, much more. But today I want to highlight some good news for all Canadians regarding affordability. We've made the National School Food Program permanent. That'll feed 400,000 more kids in perpetuity, Mr. Speaker. We are also offering automated tax filings for Canadians so that millions of Canadians can get access to supports like the Canada Child Benefit. That's going to help families across the country, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Niagara Falls, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
That member should talk to the residents in his riding that lost their job when GM cut the third shift in Oshawa. Exactly. This summer, GM announced plans to invest $4 billion in 3 auto plants. That doesn't include the $800 million in Tonawanda, New York, just across the border from us. And it's not St. Catharines. As billions of dollars flee Canada for the U.S., Canadian auto workers are watching in dismay. Why does this Prime Minister seem more interested in helping U.S. auto workers than those here at home?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, apparently common sense does not survive the Conservative caucus any longer. It seems like common sense is not so common over there. Common sense would suggest that when a country is in a trade war, a responsible government would support its workforce and industries, which is exactly what this government has been doing. We launched a $5 billion Strategic Response Fund, a reskilling and retraining program for up to 50,000 workers, $10 billion of liquidity support, a remissions framework, a Buy Canadian policy. We are doing the heavy lifting to ensure that our industries survive.
The member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Yesterday, Yesterday, we retreated to an incredibly embarrassing display as the Prime Minister stood here and bragged about a 10% tariff on Canadian auto. I had the privilege of meeting with Unifor auto workers earlier this week, and they told me a 10% tariff on auto will mean the end of the Canadian auto industry. Wow. So either the Prime Minister is unbelievably uninformed about what will hurt the auto industry, or he actually doesn't care when President Trump says he wants to take the auto sector. Is that why the Prime Minister is going to send $1 billion of investment to the United States so they can build more auto jobs for the Americans?
Yeah, good question. The Honourable Parliament Secretary, the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives need a reality check.
That's right.
At the end of the day, there were 60,000 jobs created. Almost half of those are in the manufacturing industry. When the leader of the Conservative Party sat with Stephen Harper, the manufacturing industry was devastated in the province of Ontario. Don't try to give us a lesson when we have a Prime Minister that understands the needs of Canadians. That's why we're building Canada strong.
Order. The Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Giving them a lesson would imply that they could actually learn something, Mr. Speaker, so we're not going to try. Here are the facts. GM just laid off 750 workers. The Brampton Stellantis assembly plant has been on layoff for 8 months waiting for retooling money. Meanwhile, Stellantis just is going to invest $10 billion in the United States. Why? Because the Prime Minister has failed to negotiate an agreement with the United States after promising elbows up. Is this also why he's promising $1 trillion of investment into the United States? Is that so Stellantis and other companies can build more factories there? Why have they abandoned auto workers in Canada?
The Honourable Parliament Secretary, the Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, here are the facts. While the Conservatives go around telling people that Canada is broken when Canada is the best place in the world to call home, here are the facts. We have a Prime Minister that is committed to major developments, 5 major projects, $60 billion worth of investments. All regions of Canada, we're building Canada strong, and we're going to wait till we can get the best deal for Canadians. We're not on the Conservative agenda, we're on the Canadians agenda, and that means materializing and building our country, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, the coastal forest industry is in crisis. Harvest volumes have been cut in half. 9 mills have closed, and thousands of hardworking Canadians have lost their jobs. And what the people want to know is, where is the federal government? The PM promised to, quote, negotiate a win with the United States. Instead, lumber tariffs have doubled since he became Prime Minister. Meanwhile, permitting and legal issues have only gotten worse. How many more forestry workers across BC have to lose their jobs until this Liberal government comes up with a plan that actually works?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Canadian government is right there with Canadian workers and affected Canadian communities. We've announced $50 million in supports for workers, $700 million in liquidity support, and $500 million to innovate both products and markets. We are more than happy to work with the members opposite if they have ideas to continue to support the forestry sector, but we haven't heard any, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
We're one pulp mill closure away from the total collapse of coastal forestry. That is a quote from Kermit Dahl, the Mayor of Campbell River, articulating just how dire the situation has become. On Vancouver Island, every single mill is running at reduced capacity due to lack of fiber and crippling tariffs. Tariffs that this Prime Minister promised to have removed by July 21st. Instead, they have increased by 100%. What does the Prime Minister have to say to the thousands of Canadian forestry families he's selling out by not keeping his word?
Good question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, we've been clear that the U.S. tariff on Canadian softwood lumber are absolutely unjustified, and we're working at every level to resolve the softwood lumber dispute. I've got 40 years of experience in business, and never, ever do I negotiate in public. That's what our Prime Minister is doing to support all of our workers. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The Member for Vernon Lake Country, Monashee.
Mr. Speaker, has the Prime Minister ever had to have to choose between buying groceries and paying the rent? Has he ever felt the panic of not knowing how to make it till the end of the month? That's the reality for thousands of BC forestry workers this winter, while he jets around the world handing out jobs to his wealthy friends and making concessions to the Americans. He bragged that his elbows would stand up to Trump, but Canadians are worse than ever since his elbows arrived. So I have to ask, how many BC lumber workers will lose their jobs because of this Prime Minister's failures, and why won't he fight for Canadian families?
The Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Energy.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is going across the world finding new trade deals and new markets for Canadian products, including forestry products. This is part of a diversification effort that is backed by $500 million that is going to support new markets and new innovations. We've got supports for workers, $50 million. We've got liquidity support, $700 million. And we want to work with people to find more and do more, but we haven't heard any ideas from the opposition here. So I'd welcome them at any time.